What time is it? Adventure time. uh, the thing is, franchise has so many different sayings. It's a lot easier to come up with stuff to all their phrases and they have a lot. An Adventure Time game. It's really good, but it's really bad. There's another Adventure Time game I tried before this, and I didn't get very far. I actually, ended up selling it. But it wasn't until I played this game. I think at first I was just a little thrown off because I was like, Adventure Time game, really? Like, just keep it with the show, please. Unfortunately, that's how... It's a pretty common way to think of stuff like that, like process it in your mind, like, really? But I love games like this because they're actually pretty surprising. Like, when I played this game, it made me want to go back to that other game and actually give that another chance, because I don't think I really gave it the time of day that I should have. And granted, that game, it's another Adventure Time game. I don't even have it anymore. It was a physical disc. I don't have any physical... Yeah. But this game was actually pretty fun. It was pretty good. And this is probably the more popular Adventure Time game you can get. Newest, more modern, probably best quality of life. And with games like this, you really need that, because or else it's gonna be pretty rough. And it's kind of a shame because it's really tough when people make adaptations like this, reboots, remakes, movies, TV shows, games, or just something that doesn't really fit their standard good formula that made it what it is. Different, like Beauty and the Beast or something. There's just been so many iterations of that. Different visions, different ways of seeing this world come to life. And here, because of the simple fact that it's a game, it is a little off-putting, but I had a pretty good time. I feel like I played it twice now. I don't know, I've had a weird little adventure of my own with this game. Kind of like this on and off relationship or something. But either way, it is good, and I think it was because that first game didn't work out with me, where I really wanted to give this one a chance, and I had a better feeling about this one anyway. I think they just did something right here between just everything that they did. They made good choices, because, I mean, that's gotta be hard to do, you know? Like, how do we make this, whatever this is, especially as random as Adventure Time is, into a game? It's not... I don't think it gets processed quite the same as, like, there's stuff like this, and then there's stuff like anime games. Usually anime will go in a fairly straight direction of the show, because I don't think anime, I don't think that it's hard for them to like find some kind of different direction to go. I think with this, though, it's just Cartoon Network games in general. Cartoon Network games are great. They're all good. But in their own kind of like small, fun, little indie type of way. Because there's never going to be a Cartoon Network game that's just going to be like huge. It's just not going to happen. But there's been some gems for sure. This is definitely up there as far as like a Cartoon Network, what you would expect, the quality, the just what they put into the game. But yeah, I had a good time. Once again, with this being more of a TV show adapted movie or game, it gets really confusing. I had the best time once again with the cutscenes.
Sure is pretty. Hey, maybe we'll see another comet.
Man, I hope not. I don't think I'm emotionally prepared for that.
Oh,
We boring you or something?
yes, but also my battery is low.
It was really true to the show. It felt like I was playing the show. Obviously, the show's always going to be better. The show, TV shows, movies, whatever, it's always written well. It's always, there's a lot more brain power behind them. Because that's what it's presented as, this really artistic, really well drawn, animated, or filmed, or great audio, like everything's there. Like they meet all the check marks. But with games, it's tough because it's like you want to have all that in here, but it's all cel shaded, it's all graphics, it's all video game-esque, and it's not, I can't imagine that's easy to do. Like, you gotta give these guys some credit. I know that these games really do fly under the radar, and honestly, they're made because these franchises just make so much money that obviously a video game is bound to happen from a studio. There's not a lot that really goes into the process. It's just about a matter of pumping it out and getting some extra cash. But at the same time, for people who do like Adventure Time, who also like video games, this is what we get. And I'm not really complaining. Because I've played a few games like this, like some Nickelodeon games, some just games that always feel like a little bit off. You know, Disney games, these kind of big things that are too big for its own good, that there's bound to be a video game of it anyway, and it, you know, whatever, right? But yeah, I put a lot of time into this game, and it's just fun. The colors, the dialogue, like, everything was just pretty fun. And especially because I haven't watched Adventure Time in a while, or not as much as I used to, unfortunately. That's because it's been out for a minute, and like, things have changed. It's gone on for a while. I used to have all the DVDs. I want to say they're still doing stuff. I honestly don't know. But it's cool though, because even the new stuff, the latest stuff that I've seen is pretty much as good as the old stuff. Definitely not as funny. You know, we're talking season 1, 2, 3... I don't know, 4 or 5, I guess. But yeah. Because it's cool, because the things they have to work with. can just be adapted into so many different things, so many different ways, so many different twists and turns and scenarios. It's never something that really doled out for me. It's just a matter of I haven't really taken the time to just straight up legit sit down and watch Adventure Time, because it takes, you gotta binge it. It takes time. Like, it's something you definitely do. I think you have to be at a certain point in your life to kind of really enjoy this as much as you can, to like it enough to like actually care about it. And yeah, it's so funny, a lot of memories. I actually didn't used to like Adventure Time at first, and I thought it looked kind of stupid. I was like, yeah. And that could be, to be fair, how a lot of people might see it at first. 'Cause it just looks like a dumb kid's show, man, but holy, once you actually watch it, it's fucking funny as hell. The adult humor is just bonkers. Like, I love shows like this where you do get that adult humor, but it is depicted legitimately as a kid's show. Because, like, even adult animation is hilarious, but it's too hilarious to where it's too obvious and too... It's like, you know... I like it all, but... I just find it so funny that this stuff is for kids, especially, like, a newer generation than me. I didn't get into the show... Well, it took a minute, but, like... Dude, I was, like... I don't know, early 20s. I mean... I just find it hilarious, like kids watch this, like, modern... Whatever's going on out there with kids and stuff. Yeah, it's funny, it's great. But we've always had shows like this where, you know... We've been... kind of putting all these ideas and thoughts and things and words into kids' heads, and I find it hilarious. I think it's definitely one of those things you gotta embrace for sure, because like there's adult humor in this, but generally it's just a good show. Like, it doesn't matter what age you are. It kind of can appeal to everyone, and I kind of like that. You'd actually be surprised at how many people know about Adventure Time or like it, or some of the people you'd probably never picture. Kind of like me at first, but someone actually got me into it. I got the first 2 DVDs, the seasons, at Walmart. I remember it very clearly too. And yeah, it took a minute, but I was like, dude, this is fucking funny as hell. There's some, especially the first episode alone, let alone the first season, whatever. It really pulls you in. Like, the things they say are just so ridiculous and so outlandish. I'm like, hey, I like this. This is like my thing. I can totally get down with this. Because there's not a lot of shows that try to do this that I actually end up maybe liking. Like, I am pretty picky, but wow. I was taken. I was never a hardcore fan enough to where I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get the hat, do a cosplay. I never got into it too much, but just enough to, like, appreciate it. Like, I like the music, the atmosphere, the characters. It's a really immersive, you really get taken away. Like, each episode's 15 minutes, so it's kind of nice and short and sweet, and you don't... It's not too thematic or it's just weird because like they have a story, they have a thing, but they do a really good job at like kind of cutting it up and mixing it up to where it keeps your attention. Like it doesn't lose you too much, and you don't have to follow along too well, and you can kind of connect things together on your own, and it's just really neat. There's a lot to the show that went in. Like Pendleton Ward's a genius. I'm actually really jealous he got to be the one to create this world. Like it's pretty cool. It takes everything that like people love and puts it into a nice little sweet package, and it's just great. Like this is the show that goes to show like, hey, it doesn't have to be all about cussing, it doesn't have to be gory, it doesn't have to be like, they can keep it subtle, but they can be, that's why I have so much respect for this, is because they're not trying too hard, because that shit kind of turns me off. Like I won't say what show I have in mind specifically that pertains to that comment, but yeah. Yeah, it's cool. I think especially in my early 20s, I mean, things do change. Times are different. It wasn't that long ago, but like, yeah, it's only once you really notice and take account for how things do change around you and the things you're in front of and all that stuff. I'm really glad I got into this when I did. I'm really fortunate to have been a part of like, because Adventure Time nowadays, I don't really know how popular it may still be. I think it did kind of, I want to say personally it died out a little bit. But to be fair, it's something that people aren't gonna forget about. Like it does exist, people know about it. It was just one of those things that made the time around when it was out and poppin' just a really fun, cool little time. And the show represents that so well. I mean, there's reasons why things are popular when they are, and because more than likely it fits the time period, the current time period, very, very well. Like if this came out any sooner or later than it did, I don't know. I mean, I think it kind of really made its way in at a really good time. And I think most things turn out to be that way. But there are times where, I mean, I wouldn't say it's something to think too much about, but yeah, it was good. I mean, I wouldn't say a lot of things change in such a short amount of time, or like, because it's still just early enough to where things, it's like when I see and watch and play Adventure Time, it's not even like I'm so much thinking about today or how life is now. It just brings up memories and nostalgia, and so it's just old enough to me personally that that's kind of what it does for me. But maybe you might not look at it that way if you were still like currently watching it. Like if I have it on a streaming service, I'll have it on in the background or something. But I've already seen it all. Like it's easy to rewatch, but it's easy to continue and watch more. But for me, I wouldn't, like, I don't really rewatch things or replay things really ever, but maybe like some movies here and there, that's about it. Cause it's like, I've already watched it all. Like, I already know all the jokes. I'm already like, it's still enjoyable and cozy and comfy, and no matter how you want to look at it, like, it's easily doable to rewatch for sure, but it does take time. There's a lot of it. They're 15-minute episodes, but they're... Dude, I think each season is like 20 episodes or something. Like, it's still like a good half hour of content each episode. Like, honestly, the seasons might even be like 25 episodes. Like, it's one of those big, long-lasting franchises. But there's a reason why it got so many seasons and episodes, is because it was so good. And it still is, but I think at some point, I think everyone just kind of caught on to the fact that, you know, this did have a good run, and things kind of die out. Things can still be relevant years later, sure, but ultimately, yeah. I mean, as far as like a replacement, I don't know. I can't really think of anything that could have replaced this for what it is necessarily. I mean, you might be able to argue some shows that rhymes with ick and orty. Other than that, I mean, yeah. But this game also had really fun, and I mean fun, like fun. It's off an episode. Really fun gameplay. I was really glad they chose to do turn-based, which, funny enough, is a really safe combat choice. Obviously, there's only one franchise in my mind that does it the best, and they're kind of the kings of it. Well, it's Final Fantasy. It's no surprise what that is, but I think other games try to do turn-based, and I don't know. I haven't played a lot of them, but I want to say the ones I have tried, or half of them, they're pretty good. If there's enough going on outside of the combat, it definitely makes up for whatever shortcomings the combat might have, because it's just turn-based. I mean, to be fair, it's kind of a lazy way to like do things. You're ultimately just pressing on commands and buttons and moves, and I don't know. It's not much different from like a card game, or like, it's really simple. But that's what kind of makes it nice, though, is because there's only like a couple other turn-based games that come to mind that I actually really enjoyed. But this game did it pretty well. And I'm glad they did it this way too, because I don't know, if they did it like a 3D, I think it could have been cool, but they wouldn't have been able to put in what they would have otherwise. Because at least with turn-based, everything is nice and organized, you know. There's criticals and chances and upgrades, like a lot of good things to have. And it's definitely not a bad thing. Because with games like this, it's like, how do you really decide kind of what direction to go in? Like, the game as a whole is one thing, but especially the combat, you know, the majority of the game, like, yeah. But it's fun, like, using heals. Everyone's got their own play style of how they do turn-based combat. And, it's kind of cool. Because everyone's gonna do it pretty uniquely, right? Depending on healing or attacking or defending or whatever. And it got hard too. Like, it's no joke. This game isn't... I want to say it starts out easy, but it gets pretty hard. The more things that come out, the more enemies you face, blah blah blah. The more you do have to kind of think about what to be doing and how to do it. Like, there's been times I've died. Like, it's hard, but it's not too hard to where you won't be able to get through the game, or you'll get stuck or something necessarily. Well, it depends, but yeah, because it's tough. You gotta grind. You need money. You gotta have a lot of potions, and you know, really keep up on leveling up, and that's how these games are. It's grindy. Basically, that's like the best way to put it. And I kind of like that though, cause it's a world I like being in, and like, if you're gonna make me grind, I have no problem with that. Cause every minute of it was enjoyable. I didn't feel like I was just in some stale, original, boring, lame, random world running around doing stupid shit. Like, it was a atmosphere that I was familiar with and was really craving. Is like, I'm always craving the show in some type of way or another. Like, I wish I could always have it on in the background. I wish I can always glance at it here and there and hear some funny jokes and listen to the music and enjoy the voice acting and just everything. It's so good. Like, it's something I don't think you ever get tired of, unless you're just literally watching or playing it way too much. But that's kind of hard to do, because yeah, it just reminds me of life in a way, you know? Like, life is random, life is weird, life is strange. And this show is a really good depiction of all of that. I mean, it's a trippy show. It's definitely a stoner show. That's probably why I enjoyed it, honestly, at first. And it's trippy, but it doesn't dive too deep into that stuff. It does here and there, but like pretty rarely, like just enough to kind of like give the hint across. Yeah, just good vibes, good. I think if you need like a little pick-me-up or need a bit of a better day or something, this is a great show to put on, or play the game. Cause it'll definitely do that for you. Yeah, the game itself is fun though. The combat, like, I keep saying good things about it, like you know, exploring, going on an adventure ultimately. And everything is so true to the show that I really enjoyed that they stuck with that. Well, obviously they'd have to, right? I mean, it's such a solid like identity of its own that if it's gonna be portrayed in any way at all, it's gonna have to be about this way. Yeah, and it was always surprising too, like seeing things from the show, like, oh my god, that's so cool, and whoa, I remember that, or you get all these things kind of running through your head. Yeah, and it's cool too, because meeting other people that like Adventure Time, you kind of have this cool like common ground to work with. Because as popular as Adventure Time is, it's a cartoon. Not everyone's gonna like it. Not everyone's gonna see it the way other people do. Like, oh, a kid's show and it looks stupid, and there's so many people like that out there, but dude, I don't know. if someone out there doesn't like Adventure Time, they're missing out hardcore. 'Cause it's really good. Yeah, even just replaying it again recently for a little bit. Just even that little bit amount of time was just, this is a really cool little fun stupid time. Like, it felt good. Just kind of like starting up the game. I get this little like kind of uplifting feeling from it. Not a lot of games do that to me. Because a lot of games, like games, they're so original and they're only depicted in a game format, or mostly. And that's all that you really have to work with. I just love shit like this because you can really compare the two properly. And it's just fun. Like, that's a hard word to use in video games because video games aren't always exactly fun. They're hard and they're challenging and frustrating, and they can be really intense, and like you're just going through an emotional roller coaster during games. But with this, it was pretty laid back. It was very casual. It's very other than the hard parts, it was just a little good time. During the cutscenes, you got to chill out, you got to think about what you're gonna do in combat. There wasn't really anything rushing you necessarily, or any pressure. You just kind of got to really like make it your own experience. And it's kind of hard to beat that. There are some downsides though. I ran into some bugs, glitches. It wasn't very well optimized. It is for the most part, like 90%. But when that 10% kicks in, it's pretty rough. But yeah, you'll like glitch out of the map for some stupid reason, or yeah, or the game will crash, but it won't like crash, not like a hard crash maybe, but just like kind of like freeze up, and then it's an easy way to lose progress, and that's happened to me before. I don't know, like weird stuff will happen, and it's good to be prepared for that, because but to be fair, these are problems I was having on the PS4. Maybe the PS4 Pro, I mean either way, last gen. But this was also a while ago too, like, so yeah, I don't think this is something like a new gen thing will be able to fix, like use a new gen console. Because you are still playing the PS4 edition. So it's just a game. It's not even really like the port, or I don't know if this is on other platforms or not, but it is, yeah, it's a little broken, but it's not that bad. Like, you won't really notice it, and if anything happens at all, like, to me it didn't really happen till way later, which I guess was good because I got to like the game a lot more until those problems happened. Like, I liked it enough to where, like, you know, I just kind of shook it off and it's like, yeah, whatever. But for what it is, it's pretty well made. I mean, like, the audio, sometimes it might even be like audio's all messed up or not really balanced well or whatever it may be. Like, this game was pretty well done for the most part, so just minor problems, that's all. Yeah, definitely worth it. Yeah, I think this is the only Adventure Time game you could even get on the PlayStation Store. Obviously, like, hard disks are a little different. The other game that I did try was, I think, older. And I just don't think it had as much going on for it as much as this game does. This game's got action, the cutscenes, dialogue, the exploration, the grindiness of it all. It all was a pretty fluid kind of thing, and it wasn't too long either. You know, you might beat it in like a couple days. Kind of really depends on your play style, but yeah, it's pretty nice. I don't think a game like this should really drag out for too long like that anyway. But this is a turn-based game, so I mean, you kind of do have to grind, you kind of do have to take your time, so it might take a little bit longer. Which there's nothing wrong with, because it's like, you know, especially if you're not having any problems with it either, like, things are just a little bit more fluid and faster, more frames, more, like, on a next-gen console, you're probably gonna be able to blow through this a lot quicker, but I liked it so much, I wanted to take my time. Like, it didn't get so grindy to the point where I got sick of it. But yeah, it's fun. So yeah, Schmauzau.